it deteriorated to that extent where I got calcification of my rotator cuff, I got tendinitis, my trapezius muscle had completely been torn. I mean, my scapula had shifted lower, my pectoral muscles were torn. I mean, we went to doctors all over Bombay, consulted a lot of specialists, and everyone said that I would have to undergo a surgery, which really scared me. I always had to be seated next to him because I don't have a brother, and he always said, "You're the son that I never had." So he would treat me like that. If I would come home tired from a shoot, and there wouldn't be people understanding कि ये shooting से थकान होकर वापस घर पे आई है. You know, like she's exhausted after working for 10, 12 hours and she's back home. They said, वहाँ क्या करना होता है? But also the kind of films that were being made and having a very possessive husband, let me tell you, he was really possessive, it gave a lesser spectrum of films that I could have worked on without him.
Hi, I am Sakshi Arora, and joining me today on Pinkvilla is the iconic Bhagyashree. Welcome to Pinkvilla.
Thank you, Sakshi.
How have you been?
Well, actually thrilled. Both my kids have done spectacularly well in their field of work, and well, going's good.
The kind of stardom that you have experienced is rare. Even Salman Khan at one point of time said that you were a bigger star than him. What are your thoughts on that?
See, film as a whole is always a teamwork. There's never one particular person that's really responsible for a picture to be a hit or a flop. So I think everyone worked really hard for मैंने प्यार किया, और सबके सितारे एक टाइम में एक वक्त पर बहुत अच्छी जगह पर थे, and that is why the film became a hit.
What were your thoughts when you saw yourself first time on the big screen?
I guess it was, oh my God, am I really doing this? Because I never ever thought that I would actually become an actress. It wasn't really on my agenda. So for me, I think I fell in love with acting, or the whole idea of being in a film during the course of Maine Pyar Kiya.
But did you like yourself when you saw yourself in theatres and like the big screen?
I think we all are always very critical when you see yourself. You know, you always feel you could have done better. यहाँ पे मैं अच्छी नहीं दिख रही हूँ. This performance could have been better. You always feel that. I think everyone does.
Could you enjoy that stardom?
I think I was completely unawares actually that the film had become such a humongous hit till much later. I was so involved with my family and my marriage and Abhimanyu being born at that time. So yeah, everything took a second place.
You took a sabbatical, but then you came back and you did regional films, TV shows. How was that experience like, and how was it different from your debut?
See, like I said, it was only during the course of Maine Pyar Kiya that I realized that this is something that I would like to do, something that I would want to make a part of my life. So once, of course, I got married, I had my son, that did take a back seat. Once he was grown up, and I decided I could take time off, and I could kind of manage both. I mean, you have to remember, I was all of 20. So to be able to manage a home and a kid and a career was almost an impossible task for me. So I needed my time to kind of strike a balance between them. Yeah, then I started working. So it wasn't ever a criteria of where I'm working. It was more like, what am I doing that I'm having fun doing, that I'm working with the right kind of people, that give me the opportunity to balance my time, because I had to spend time at home with my son, with my family. And those were the only projects I took up at that time.
Could you share a crazy fan experience with us? Because I'm sure you must have a lot of stories.
Well, a lot of stories, but always the first autograph that you sign is always special. And for me, it was not Maine Pyar Kiya, but it was Kachhi Dhoop, my first serial which I'd done with Amol Palekar. And soon after that, I'd gone for a holiday to Washington. And we were at the museum, And suddenly there was a huge pitter patter of steps running. So we all turned around and we saw this crowd of children coming running towards. So I was like looking here and then. I said, "Kaun sa wala star yahan par hai?" You know. And suddenly all of them came, stopped by, and they said, "Could we have your autograph?" And I was like, really? People are watching television so much that they are actually asking for my autograph, because Kachi Dhoop had just gotten released. And that was where I gave my first autograph.
Wow, that's amazing. You have literally reinvented yourself. You became a nutritionist and you have worked extensively with the army as well. But what I hear, the reason for that was actually pain, something painful that had happened. Could you elaborate on that?
It was immediately, or rather during the course of my doing a TV show called Lota Drisha. While I was doing that, I developed a pain in my shoulder, which they call frozen shoulder, which is, I think, a very nascent stage of what actually happened to me. Not realizing that it would be so painful. My pain threshold is way high, so I can take pain. So I never really bothered to get it treated or go to the doctor or take adequate rest. And that caused a major problem, because over a period of time, it deteriorated to that extent where I got calcification of my rotator cuff, I got tendinitis, my trapezius muscle had completely been torn. I mean, my scapula had shifted lower, my pectoral muscles were torn. So all in all, I couldn't move my right hand at all. So considering that, and for someone who has been always very hands-on and active, whether it came to my home, family, kids or work, for me it was devastating. I mean, I couldn't mentally fathom that I would be able to even live my life like that. And the pain was so excruciating that there was nothing that I could tell people, because there was nothing to see. There was no swelling, there was absolutely no telltale signs even before that something like this would hit me, because it just happened one night. And I got up to that kind of pain where it was impossible for me to even breathe. When I went to the doctors, and it was only then that I came to know that there was some kind of situation like this, because I had no idea on what this was called. And they said, you have a calcified rotator cuff, you have bursitis, you have tendinitis, your scapula has shifted down, and your pectoral muscles are torn. And how the hell did you manage to do all this? And the pain, as they say, is delivery pains and a heart attack combined together 3 times over. That's the kind of pain. But I mean, that's what the doctor said, saying, I don't know how this woman is standing. And finally, when he said this, I said, oh God, someone really understands the amount of pain that I'm going through. After that, for about a week, everything was in a blur. I mean, we went to doctors all over Bombay, consulted a lot of specialists, and everyone said that I would have to undergo a surgery, which really scared me, because any kind of surgery scared me. I mean, though I've had both my kids with cesarean, it still gives me the jitters. So I didn't want to have an operation. Apart from that, they told me that at least 3 months post that, there would be a lot of physiotherapy, I still wouldn't be able to move my hand, and so on and so forth. So for me, I said, the surgery might get over, but I'll get mentally affected, because I couldn't take 3 days. 3 months was a hell of a long time. So I decided to take a steroid injection, and they said only and only if you work out that hard, and because this is almost like a painkiller, and you kind of start building muscle to protect that rotator cuff, only then will you get back into shape. So for me, the whole process lasted over a year, and that's all that I did. So I did what the doctors asked me to. I worked out in that fashion, studied a lot on nutrition, the kind of food that I would like would enhance my recovery, the kind of workouts that would help me, the muscle building that I required to do. So there's a whole lot of study that was required for me to better myself, because I believe that our bodies are meant to heal themselves. As long as you don't cut them up, it's fine, which you can manage. And well, that's that's how it all happened.
As you mentioned that you were on steroids, right? And when you leave steroids, when you are off it, there are withdrawal symptoms as well. Did you suffer from that, and how did you
I
manage
took
it?
just one injection of steroid, that's it. I
Okay.
refuse to take any other kind of medication or anything that's prolonged. So, like I said, I have a high threshold, high pain thresholds, which I can manage pain. So, yeah, I did.
That sounds like out of the world. We as women, especially women who are multitasking, they tend to kind of put themselves on the back seat and give importance to other things in life and not think about themselves at all.
Right.
Do you think it was kind of a wake-up call for you that, hey, listen, you are doing a lot for others, but it's time for you to do something for yourself?
Absolutely. You're so right, Sakshi. We do end up putting ourselves last on the list. And that made me realize a very important thing, which I do talk in my lectures and talk to people all around me, is that there's a reason for happiness having I in the center. You have to be the center of your happiness, and you're the only person that can heal yourself, make yourself smile. Again, I is in the center, smiles. So we as Indians especially are taught that दूसरों को पहले रखना. You know, it's all about taking care of others first before yourself. But I feel unless you are in the best of health, and you are not only just physically but also mentally in the best of health, there's no way that you can spread happiness, there's no way that you can help others, and there is no way that you can get satisfied with what you're doing. So I think it's very essential कि अपने आप को ठीक करो और बाकी पूरी दुनिया वैसे के वैसे ठीक हो जाएगी.
After this life-changing experience, what were the things that you started doing for yourself that you did not do before this experience? How did it change you?
Pay attention to my food, pay attention to my sleep, sleep enough, rest enough, very, very important, because I think as a woman one tends to do a lot more. If anyone else is to go out or needs to go on time or any kind of schedule, you take a back seat and you say, okay, thoda kam rest karo, but you have to fulfill whatever jobs, duties one has to do. And yeah, you end up doing that so much so that you don't give your body rest. So I think rest is prima facie important. The kind of nutrition that you provide your body, and very importantly, take time to understand what your body needs to heal, to build those muscles that, because finally your body is something that's going to carry you throughout your life. You know, that's the only thing that's going to stay till the end. So if you don't take care of it, it's not going to last you well till the end. So yeah, all these points were very, very important for me.
What was your experience like growing up, being from a royal family? How did people treat you, and how did they react when they came to know that, oh, you are regal?
Well, in one word, while people were getting dogs as pets, my first pet was an elephant.
Wow.
So when
That's
we're
so
talking
amazing.
about that, but let me put it in a different perspective. Jokes apart, I've been born and brought up in Bombay, so the life in Bombay was very different as to when we went to our hometown, which was on regular intervals during the year, but we didn't stay there. So when we would go back there, a lot of respect, a lot of decorum was maintained in how people spoke to us, how we had to speak to people, how we would dress. Like, I don't remember after the age of 13 that I wore jeans or skirts or anything apart than a sari when I would go to Sangli. So that was the kind of decorum that we had to maintain over there. Also, we would have loads of people come to meet us. We had to give them enough time. It was like actually being involved with people around us, their families, taking care of their needs, requirements. They would come and complain to us for assistance, and we had to hear their stories and discuss and do as much as we could to help them. So whether it was monetary, whether it was just a shoulder to cry on, whether it was solving issues between two families and two brothers, we've done all that. You know, that's what Dad used to do essentially, and I always had to be seated next to him because I don't have a brother, and he always said, "You're the son that I never had," so he would treat me like that. So yeah, we've seen that portion, and then when we would come back to Bombay, we would live life like we did.
So you had the best of both worlds, as they say.
Yeah, best of both worlds, or it was difficult managing both, because as a child, I think it does get difficult when you're slipping from one place to another and not understanding exactly where you stand. Because you come to Bombay and life over here is very different than when you go back there. And when you go there, you want to do the things that you're doing in Bombay, which you can't. So you're in that state of constant contrast. But I think that really helped me when I had Maine Pyar Kiya behind me, and then I got married into a household which had nothing to do with films. So they couldn't understand anything of the way life was outside, And literally, when I was working, the moment I would step foot into the house, my life would change. I would no longer be Bhagyashree, the actress, and there would be so many things that you would have to do hands-on, like any other housewife does, and I would be doing all of them.
Wow. When you became a star, did people around you change? And how? The people you knew, the people who were close to you.
There was a lot of positivity, undoubtedly, after Maine Pyar Kiya and the kind of success. But along with that, I think there was a very conscious thought process going on in my mind constantly, that I didn't want people to point fingers and say, oh, ye to badi star hai, ye nahi karegi, ya aise hi baat karegi. I didn't want that at all. So there was a very conscious decision on the way I projected myself, the way I spoke to people, the way I did things. I didn't want people to think that about me. I wanted to be as normal as, well, one can.
You stated a very interesting point. I was actually about to ask you this. Because you mentioned that you had to make extra efforts, you would put in extra efforts to be nicer to people. And did that happen that people start maybe saying something which was not very nice, but you still had to, hold and be patient and not say something, because again it would always be like, oh, she is retaliating because now she's a star, so she thinks highly of herself. Did you have to go through people's bad opinions, bad voices, and still not say anything?
See, it's not about bad opinions or bad voices, but it's also about the kind of effort that I don't think anyone realizes that we have to put when we are on screen. I mean, people look at this industry as a face of glamour, They come on sets and they see us being fussed over by an entire team, our hairdressers, our makeup men, our spot boys, the assistant directors, everyone. They see that part of it, but they don't see how much goes into making a character real, or even maintaining that beauty, I would say. There is a certain amount of hard work for people, and I see all the youngsters doing it right now, You need to put in that effort if you're supposed to look the way you're supposed to look, or you're supposed to dress the way you're supposed to. People don't understand that. So there is that difference when people look at a normal person and then they look at an actress, and then you have to put in double effort to make sure that they don't find fault with that. I would say, like, if I would come home tired from a shoot and there wouldn't be people understanding कि ये shooting से थकान होकर वापस घर पे आई है, like she's exhausted after working for 10-12 hours and she's back home. They say, वहाँ क्या करना होता है? You put on makeup and you look pretty, and it's not anything to do with physical work or mental work, where women are probably at their desk in the office, or they're looking after their computers, or they're managing accounts, and that's mental hard work. And then there's physical hard work where you can actually see a person doing physical hard work. यहाँ पे तो दोनों चीज़ नहीं होती. So, there are people who would at that point of time, I would say, not understand that I could be tired. And okay, they don't understand. And before they say anything, you have to make sure that you do it as normally as possible.
And they're talking about a time when even vanity vans didn't exist.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
Totally. Super tough.
Totally. I mean, today, when my children go and they have their vanity vans, and I'm like, I enter Abhimanyu's vanity van once in a while, and I say, my God, how lovely is this? Mom, you had this. I said, no, we didn't have this. We had to like knock at someone's door and say, excuse me, can we use a room to change our clothes or use the toilet?
That must have
So
been
outdoors were
tough.
tough. Oh yeah.
Your husband also became an actor. So how did that happen and how was he as a co-star?
Okay, we had fun when we were working together. Obviously, I mean, we were just married, a couple of years married, and if I would be shooting by myself, I wouldn't have that much time with him. We also lived in a joint family, which didn't give us much time together. So when we were on sets and we were working together, we had a lot of time that we could spend together. So it was fun. How did that happen? That actually happened quite weirdly because, like I said, I'd just gotten married and I'd said no to most of the films that came my way because I thought it was impossible for me to balance both. So I think someone from the media asked me, so how would it be if your husband was working with you? And I said it would be thrilling, it would be so good because then I wouldn't have to come back home to look after him. It would all be there on the set. And they said, okay, so you'd want to work with your husband? I said, yeah, of course I would want to work with my husband. So what started with a conversation like this went on to, oh, she wants to work only with her husband.
But that was not the case.
Let's put it in a perspective where, yes, again, I would have definitely liked to work with him at that point of time, though I didn't put my foot down. But also the kind of films that were being made and having a very possessive husband, let me tell you, he was really possessive, it gave a lesser spectrum of films that I could have worked on without him, which I did. I did a couple of films without him, but the spectrum became so much more lesser because there would be romance in the film and there would be scenes in the film, and he wasn't very comfortable me doing those films. So yes, that made it an impossible task for me to say yes to those films because I prioritized us first.
People love you so much. I was going through your Instagram and the kind of comments you were getting, so much of love, and that proves that you are very authentic and very honest and very simple as a person. How have you managed to be so authentic and simple all these years with so much of stuff going
Oh
around?
my God. Thank you so much. Thank you all of you for the kind of love that you keep showering me over these 30 years. I mean, it's been such a long time, 3 decades, and you still shower with me with so much love. So I am truly blessed, and thank you for your words too. I would just say, like I said, it's a conscious decision back of my head every time, every day, every minute, that I am not someone special. I am not someone different. I have to do what I'm supposed to do. So my responsibilities, my manners, the way I behave with people stems from the fact that it has to be authentic, it has to be real, it has to be from my heart. So what you see is what you get. It's basically that.
After Radhe Shyam, what kind of offers you are getting, and can we see you very soon on an OTT platform?
I'm hoping, really hoping that something really special comes. There have been a couple of things, but like I said, I need to really get fired up to do something, and I'm looking for something really interesting and special coming my way so that I'm out there on OTT, because that's tomorrow's world and I would definitely want to be a part of it.
All the best, and thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you so much, Sakshi. Thank you so much. Hi everybody, this is Bhagyashree, and if you like this video, do share and subscribe. Pinkvilla.